No Republicans. No, 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 no. We're over that. We've evolved as a society. No other parties out there. One party, American party. That's it. Okay? For the American people. It's not we, some of the people, remember, it's we all the people. Not just a gaggle of bureaucrats and politicians can run this show. And they're not handing out fairness and justice. Evil men would like to see this thing go on in perpetuity, but it can't. It simply can't because of knowledge. Thank God we're finally at that point in history. Because I'm excited. I'm a little bit anxious. I am. I'm just at my wit's end sometimes. I feel like, God, how bad can this debasement of currency through raising our cost of living, diluting the money, watering it down, and just causing more and more misery, more and more poverty and desperation. This is what they love. They love a permanent underclass, and they want it to grow. They need fresh blood because they keep stealing more and more. They don't care about debasing the currency and the implications, the ramifications thereof. They just take more and more and more. That's it. They not only make sure they get plenty to make up for what they're doing to the worth of our money, but they're taking over and above and making sure that they're benefiting. You understand? This is very divisive. Divisive, that's the name of the game. These people are a miserable gaggle of thugs. I mean, I'm not judging them. I'm just saying, call a spade a spade. They're mean people. These are people without boundaries, apparently, evidently through the empirical evidence. I mean, if you're going to murder JFK, and then in all these detectives in crime, they're all taught cui bono, Latin for, who benefits from this crime. That's who you look at first if you want to find the culprit. And then we understand JFK was eliminating the Federal Reserve. He had already begun circulating a new dollar. He was an egalitarian, a good American. He understood that sound economic policies were essential to a growing freedom and prosperity in America. So we're going to establish this, and this Federal Reserve wasn't taking us there. He could see that. He saw that it was a private group of people and that their interests and the American people's interests were at odds. So he was getting rid of them. He was in the process when he was assassinated. So you tell me the vast majority of American people do not believe the official story of Oswald in the book. That was just a patsy. And how many bad apples, how many turds in the punch bowl does it take to screw everything up? I mean, one in a billion, literally. One in a billion. That's all you need. One bad apple in the FBI or, whoever, whatever agency to do this thing. So am I fingering everybody in law enforcement, upper echelon law enforcement? No. I'm saying, what can you do? I mean, sometimes people do get away with crimes, but sometimes they're silenced. I think 9/11 was one of those things. I think a lot of people got silenced after that. I don't know what the hell happened there. All I know is it was very peculiar. When you look at all the researchers, what they did about 9/11, so I don't know what the percentage of American people that believe the official story, how suspicious that Building 7 going up in flames was and being knocked down. No. When a little bit of shrapnel hit it, that's probably where that last plane that got taken down in Pennsylvania was headed. It's just bizarre, man. But it doesn't take many. I mean, in my mind, one tiny turd in the punch bowl, I'm not drinking it, right? And that's only you can decide to do that. But if you're imbibing in this world system, okay, that's what you're imbibing in. You're, that tainted, turdy punch, man. Okay? And I don't want to do it. It's ruined. It's polluted. It's adulterated. And I don't want to drink it. I'm forced to use money. I'm not above anybody else here. I'm complicit to the degree that I'm forced to use money to survive. So I pray to God for forgiveness. But beyond that, I say, man, I get it, God. I'm seeing things through your eyes. I asked for enlightenment, and you showed me. And he'll show you and anybody else that asks. Spread the word. But man, I'm telling you, the way God sees things and the way the worldly wise see things, man, they are diametrically opposed, 180 degrees. It's like being born again when you see it. And it could be traumatic for people when they just admit they're just being honest and they're just being intellectually honest and logical, even and simple. It's stuff that a little kid can understand about the character and nature of God and what His will for us is. Unless we learn to live like a family and really treat each other like brothers and sisters, mothers and dads, sons and daughters. I mean, really, 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 in a very visceral, tangible, literal way, we won't please God and we will never find happiness. We will never find peace and freedom or safety, security, and any prosperity that's worth a crap. We won't find happiness. God is the grantor of true happiness. And what the hell do you want with pseudo happiness? You want to live a phony life, and at the end of it, you say, well, I was winging it, God, and I know you're cool, and everything will be groovy. And, hey, you got to be ready for the world of tomorrow. So what's it going to be like? For one thing, there can't be any turds in the punch bowl. So there can't be any form of money. It's a thing that screws everything up from the get-go. You've got to have a level playing field from birth. Why not? And what's unreasonable at saying it's God's planet? We're God's equally beloved children. What would you do if you were God? You think you need money when it's established that we're all born filthy rich? We'd have no more use for money than any other creature does. Money is not a creation from God. It's an invention by evil men thousands of years ago. And their ilk has carried the torch for thousands of years. Yeah, the Rosicrucians, they teach their children that, hey, you know what? You were reincarnated. Yeah, you chose to be an elitist and rule the world, perpetually controlling the purse strings for humanity. This is your lot. You're blessed. You're above other men. You have godlike status. This is the kind of crap you can imagine the elitist teach them. And not value conscience. No. You trade that in a heartbeat for money and the power of the money. And human lives, you don't care if there's genocide. We have war for profit and relevance. Yeah, all sorts of crazy crap, man. Look at all the homicides on a lower level that are committed for profit. And you want to stand before God on Judgment Day, your owner, the one that gave you existence and your five senses and everything you've ever enjoyed or ever will enjoy, and try to defend the use of money? And you're going to tell God, well, there's just no way. I just couldn't comprehend it. I couldn't conceive. I just couldn't imagine how a society could possibly work without any form of money if we were all born rich. I thought we needed Big Brother. We needed the banks and the politicians and the bureaucracy, and there's no way. How could it possibly work? Who would work? Well, prove that it wouldn't. You can't. There's never been a period in history since the installment of money in all its incarnations. There's never been a period where they've let humanity be free. God, my whole life I watched the gradual normalization of slavery. But it's no less than that. If you can't get ahead anymore, when back in the early 60s, yeah, $1 an hour, minimum wage, federal minimum wage law, and you could afford a middle class life, be a homeowner, have disposable income, one person working in the family, supporting your wife and kids, or whatever. If both people worked, you could live an upper middle class life. That's the America I knew. That was a federal minimum wage job. So you try to justify that. You can't. That's unconscionable. What's happened in my country. So the Federal Labor Department could have prevented this whole thing with runaway inflation, currency debasement, and all the horrible effects of desperate poverty and the crime that goes with it, the homelessness, the misery, the fear, the insecurity, all that crap. You want to defend money? Not me, friend. Not me. No, our money's supposed to go up in worth. If there's any semblance of fairness and justice in the land, our money would go up in worth. But the Federal Labor Department could have stopped it because they would have been absolutely right in defending the standard of living. To remind the American public that they didn't just pull a figure out of the air when they established the federal minimum wage law. It was based on a given standard of living afforded to these workers that were just as essential as anybody else, working in farms and factories, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Justify that. Tell me how the Federal Labor Department justifies not coming out every year. But not only were they remiss for year after year, but for decade after decade, well over half a century. And you're going to justify that? They're going to justify that? How are you going to do that? And you don't think that's a part and parcel to this wealth imbalance in the country? We would have stopped inflation there. We said, who's manipulating markets? Why are the prices going up in this arena? Okay, this sector. What's going on here? So is it a true, genuine disruption in the supply chain? Or is there market manipulation, collusion, and price fixing and price rigging going on? Let's do an investigation. That we would have had the conversation then. The rubber would have met the road. And then the evil ones would have had to say, all right. We won't raise your cost of living here, little picky, little greedy, little minimum wage workers, insisting on maintaining the standard of living promised them by the Federal Labor Department. Hey, accept financial insecurity because we say so. We want to enslave you. We don't want you to be able to get ahead, be a cocky, bourgeois, middle-class person. No. No crying because you can't be bourgeois. So for well over half a century this has happened. And we got cities now. We've been balkanized utterly. Cities have to set their own minimum wage. Now it's on a federal level. So not only are we divided by 50 states, we're divided by counties and by cities. And you wonder why you got misery in your local community? I'm telling you why, friends. This is trickle-down misery. These people are very miserable because they've made enmity with God himself. That's what they've done, and that's what's coming down to us in our local communities. That's why you feel bad, because you see all the suffering that the weaker links in the chain of humanity are experiencing. The fear and insecurity. When is this inflation going to stop? I can't afford it. My boss isn't going to give me a raise. I can't do it. I can't work more hours. What am I going to do? How am I going to crack this nut? I'm going to be homeless and desperate. I'm going to be meandering under that bridge with my tail tucked between my leg and those soiled clothes. I'm scared, God. I'm insecure. I'm fearful. Please, God, please. People are crying out. Knowledge is here. Chapter 12, Daniel. This is how we're going to see changes, not through violence. It's what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. I'm mortified. It's Satan. Satan. It reminds me of that song by the Rolling Stones, Sympathy for the Devil, because I don't know what the hell's going on over there. Okay, but it could be as simple. Remember what they say started the Arab Spring? That the price of couscous, is that how you pronounce it? That durum wheat, the pasta thing, grain, whatever you want to call it, was going up. And they weren't having that over there. So you see, they stopped that thing dead in its tracks, and it led to a lot of lives being lost. But they weren't going for currency debasement when they knew they were being scammed. And we all know Ukraine is the breadbasket for Russia. Ukraine used to be part of Russia. Okay? It'd be like, I can understand Russia's feeling, but I can understand the Ukrainians' feeling. If you're the British in Northern Ireland and you're representing the Protestants and you say, hey, stop trying to kick us out. We want to live and let live. Yay. We were ready to take over the whole island, but we just got this little part in Northern Ireland. And then the Irish to the south, the dedicated Irish, they said, we resent you. You're invaders. Get out of here. So, that could be the attitude of Putin that says a lot of these are outside or west of the influence, telling them, go ahead, it's okay to manipulate the price of grain and to sock it to the Russians, make it their problem. That's the way it works. This mutant form of capitalism is not supply and demand at all. It's based on manipulation, collusion. Some people benefit, some lose. But hey, if you're on the bandwagon, you're on the side that benefits, it's fine. Putin sees that. I mean, I'm not saying that's what's going on. That's a shot in the dark. But that's the kind of crap that can start a bloody revolution.